Good evening, everybody. Welcome to an evening of music and words for world peace. I think it's a pretty timely event. I think that when we look across what's going on in the world, I think that the world could definitely use a little more peace for sure. And I'm so glad that so many of you came out here tonight for this event. And we've got a great evening planned for you. We have Walter Dorn, who is going to be speaking, who has been one of the advisors to Peace Train Canada. Peace Train Canada is the reason why this event is actually taking place in the first place. Peace Train Canada is a group of people who gathered in British Columbia last year in November after deciding that it was time that they needed to take action, and they decided to come to Ottawa on a train to make the politicians in Ottawa aware of the fact that there's a lot of people in this country that are very concerned about the direction that the world is going in, and that they wanted to promote peace. And I had the opportunity when I got a call, an email from Rob. I don't know if Rob's around, but Rob Ryan got in touch with me and a colleague of mine, Chris White, and said, hey, did you hear about this? There's a peace train coming to Ottawa. And I was like, no, I hadn't heard anything about this. And he said, well, they're going to be at the train station tomorrow at 3. So why don't we go meet them there with some guitars, and we can welcome them with some songs for peace. So in November of last year, we met 40 people from BC who had come to Ottawa, and we greeted them at the train station. Via Rail gave us like a suite for us to perform some songs, and that's how we got acquainted. And then since then, a lot has happened. There was a lot of discussions at that time with a number of the politicians here in Ottawa. We held a rally the next day, and it turned out that a few months later, Elizabeth May decided that she wanted to pick up the torch and take a peace train from Montreal to New York City to the United Nations in order for us to bring that message to the United Nations during the meetings for the Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. And so all of us got on a train and went down to New York City, and we spent a week down there for those meetings. We had protests, and I organized the first evening of music and words for world peace in New York City while we were all down there. And at the time, I was thinking about when I was organizing that evening, what are the elements? And I started thinking about what are the conditions for peace. And, one of the things I thought about was, there's inner peace. Like we have to, think of, some of the religions, Buddhism and that kind of thing that teach us to, look internally for peace. And I think that that's where it starts, right? There's the internal look for peace, and then you have peace within your family, you have peace within your community, you have peace within the country, and you can have peace, you can have world peace. And so that's one of the elements. One of the things I wanted to do is do a land acknowledgement, that we're on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe and Algonquin nations. And that's another aspect of peace, is acknowledgements. It's about, ensuring that we're respectful towards each other, we're respectful towards all cultures. And another aspect of it is the environment. And that's where I'm going to land right now. I want to play a song. It was mentioned to me the other day that, we need not anthems for each country, but maybe an anthem for peace. And this is a song that I wrote a while back, and to me, this is, for me at least, this is my anthem for peace. For the environment, the anthem for the environment. And I think, like I said, I really feel like this, you know, the respect for the environment is definitely one of the conditions for peace. The air we breathe, the water we drink, keeps us alive. It makes me think we have all we need to survive. Together we can thrive on this one rock, close enough to the sun for us to share, for us to care for this one rock, just close enough to the sun. Great Wall, the Taj Mahal, the world's wonders, we protect them all. This fragile earth is our beating heart. It's up to us to do our part on this one rock, close enough to the sun for us to share, for us to care for this one rock, just close enough to the sun. We're not moving to Mars, there's no high rise in the stars, this is home. This world needs change, we've made some mistakes, but there's time. You and I can find a way, 'cause there's just one rock, close enough to the sun for us to share, for us to care for this one rock, just close enough to the sun, to the sun. This one rock, just close enough to the sun. Thanks very much. I want to introduce you to Keith Whiten. Keith and Bernadette Whiten sort of came up with this whole idea for the Peace Train, and so I'd like to introduce you to Keith, and Keith is going to talk to you and tell you a little bit about Peace Train Canada.
Thanks, Christophe. Well, it was April 2024. We were in a small fishing village in British Columbia, and we were meeting with people who were concerned about Gaza. There was young people who were writing letters to their members of parliament. There's a renowned marine science center there, and the students there were getting together in the evenings and writing letters similar to what people did back in the 80s with Amnesty International. So we shared that time with them, and we talked about what was happening in Gaza. And then we started thinking, well, what else could we do? And that night we came home from that meeting, and we were just sort of confounded, because it just seemed such a terrible situation. Our MP, Gord Johns, had been one of the first members of Parliament to write that letter calling for a ceasefire in November, the previous November. but the government wasn't responding. It was terrible things were happening. So we went to bed that night, and the next morning, I woke up, and I had this tune going back around in my head. It was like, I didn't really know, I couldn't remember what it was, and then I finally figured it out. It was Cat Stevens' Peace Train. And so that was the moment when the kind of idea of the Peace Train was born. And that afternoon I called Via Rail and basically asked them, what do we need to do to get a bunch of people on the train in British Columbia and go to Ottawa and talk to our leaders? But we felt that the decisions, the international decisions, were made by our federal government, and we should engage with the federal government. So we started planning that. So it was in November, last November, a year ago, where we went there for our first peace train. There were 40 people got on the train, and as we made our way across Canada, we stopped at the main train stations, and people came out to meet us. We had these rallies all across the country, and it was very moving. And it basically it assured us that there's still people out there across our country who have a very fond recollection of Canada being respected around the world for their peacekeeping efforts. And we had seen that decline over the years. And then when we started to think about what to ask of our government, we got in touch with some of the titans of the peace movement in Canada, and we asked them to advise us. And eventually we came to the idea, through study and looking at previous reports from the Committee of National Defense Standing Committee, where in 2019 they recommended in one of their reports that the government reestablish a peace center. They had closed all the peace centers that Canada had. Well, the Pearson Peace Center, and then the CIPS was the Center for International Development, or it was founded by Pierre Trudeau. But previous or subsequent governments had kind of just got out of the peace and diplomacy focus, and there was this heightened militarization that we saw playing out in our foreign policy. So we started a petition. We asked the government to establish a peace center. We came, we met with parliamentarians. We had wonderful receptions. We had meetings with politicians and officials, and we got a lot of response. And while we were there in Ottawa, here in Ottawa, Elizabeth May told us about the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons conference at the UN this March in New York. And she said, you know, you have to come with me. You have to come to New York. Let's go on the train from Montreal to New York. It'll be your second peace train adventure. So we did that. And shortly after we got back, we were reviewing what our next steps would be. And Alex Neve, who's one of our advisors, told us that there are major meetings happening in October and that we should come to Ottawa again. And so that's what we're here for. We're meeting with the titans of the Canadian peace movement and meeting again with our federal MPs and officials. And it's been a wonderful week. As I said, we've met with the titans of Canadian peace movement. We've had meetings all week. We had wonderful reception with our members of parliament. And the idea of a peace center is gaining traction. We can see the movement with everyone that we talk to is supportive. And so the challenge is then to grow that request, to grow our understanding of the actual mechanics of it, and to work with our advisors to bring this to fruition. So we're just really happy to be here, and Ottawa has been wonderful. Hospitality, people very supportive. We are very impressed as Canadian citizens with the access we have to our legislators. Our whole approach has been based on respect and a true appreciation of our institutions that have been built to give us our quality of life. And we're looking forward to continued engagement. And we're already talking about next year. So maybe we'll see you all again next year. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Keith. As Keith mentioned, you know, there was meetings that took place all during the week, and there's a number of people from, you can see the blue shirts in terms of like the people from Peace Train Canada who are here. And there's a lot of work that was done and a lot of MPs that were met. And my understanding is that there was like, as Keith was mentioning, like there's very, people are very open to the idea. I know that there was meetings even with our defense minister this week, where I understand that he suggested that he felt like it was a good idea to revive the Pearson Peacekeeping Center, and that's one of the main focuses of Peace Train Canada, is to revive that Pearson Peace Center in Canada, and it's amazing to me, like sort of the synergy of, like, you know, when you get the politicians, but then you also have, you know, the arts, you have like different NGOs and that kind of thing that get mingling together. I mean, I was at a breakfast and there was politicians. There was Elizabeth May was there from the Green Party, but we had representatives from the Liberals, from the Conservative Party, from the NDP. There was members from all of the various parties there to hear, you know, Keith and Bernadette's message, and also to give their own sort of support of peace. And I just want to tell you a little story about, like, you know, so we got there, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, we were waiting in line, and I happened to meet this guy I was talking to, and we walked in, and it turns out that this person who I had been speaking to, he had come from Brampton, Ontario, that morning to bring an award that we had won, like the Peace Train Canada had won. And it turns out that this person is starting up a peace museum in Canada. And so it's interesting because I had been thinking about this idea that we've done a number of things in the Ottawa community in terms of prompts and trying to get songwriters to write music about, you know, certain themes and that kind of thing. And so one of the themes, you know, that has kept coming up is peace, of course. And I thought, after I met this guy, Chris, who was starting this Peace Museum, because he talked to me about, like, the fact that this award was given to Peace Train Canada, but he had done a number of different events like that. So I'm going to be getting in touch with him to try and do a peace songs event where we're going to put the word out to people in Ottawa, people around, like across the country, and I'd like to have it go across the world, where different communities take a couple of months and write songs about peace, and then we'll have events to be able to play those songs. So yeah, so anyway, that's you know, what comes out of gathering people together and talking about a particular topic like this. I'd like to play a song right now. This is a song a number of years ago. There was an earthquake in Haiti, and my dad was born in Haiti, and so it was, I wanted to write a hopeful song about that event. And the thing is the song turned out to be, you know, bigger than in terms of, the song is called Seize the Moment. And it's, you know, when tragic things are happening, there's an opportunity as well to try and make a difference. And this is called Seize the Moment. The earth shakes, I'm wide awake, walls are coming down, I can't take a breath, and the face of death. I lay here on the ground, my home is in ruin. Can I rise to my knees? Seize the moment, let go of the fear. The time is now, the place is here. Stone by stone, I'll rebuild my home. My feet back on the floor. With my own two hands, I'll work the land. Change the life that I know. Break from this shadow into the light. Seize the moment, let go of the fear. Time is now, the place is here. Seize the moment, don't shed another tear. Time is now, the place is here. Every step that I take, stride reminds me every day to seize the moment, let go of the fear. The time is now, the place is here. Seize the moment, don't shed another tear. The time is now, place is here. So I'd like to invite one of the people who have been an advisor to Peace Train Canada. I'd like to invite Dr. Walter Dorn to come up, and Walter was with us at the UN in March, and he's been so supportive of Peace Train Canada. He's a professor at the Military College in Toronto, and I want to thank you for coming today, Walter. Okay.
This peace train keeps on rolling. And what a great commitment to bring together music in order to honor peace and to honor the peace train. So thank you, Christophe, for all of it you've done so far, and in New York, inspiring, networking, bringing us together in this very special space in order to honor peace. So, yeah. My journey on peace started as a scientist, or somebody who was trying to be a scientist. It's a bit loud, isn't it? And I was an undergraduate chemistry and physics student, and I took a job for a chemist, and he told me that his supervisor was at Harvard University, because he was doing shock tubes, which means you do high intensity shock waves in tubes. And he said that he studied it under George Kistikowski. And then I had to research a little about George Kistikowski. He was the man who in the Second World War was called upon by the US government to help build the atomic weapon. They needed his expertise in shock waves to look at how you could cause a nuclear chain reaction. And this had been done in a reactor, but it hadn't been done in a bomb. And at that point, there was a big concern that Hitler would be getting the bomb. And so George Kistikowski went to New Mexico, became part of the Manhattan Project, and he designed the explosive device. And later on, he turned his life around and said he wanted to work in every way possible so that science could be used for peace. But the explosive power of that device was seen in Alamogordo, New Mexico in 1945 in July. And it even created a new material because the heat that it generated from that explosion. And then, of course, it was used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And one of his colleagues was named Joe Rotblat. And Joe Rotblat was a polar scientist, a Jew who had to leave because of what the Nazis were doing. And he also felt that if the West didn't, that is the West, the Allies didn't get the nuclear weapon first, the atomic bomb, then Hitler might get it and he might be able to actually use it to threaten the entire world. But Joe was having a dinner with the head of the Manhattan Project. His name was General Leslie Groves. And Groves told him, no, we know that Hitler isn't going to get the bomb. This bomb that we're developing is meant for Japan. And Rotblat said, that's not what I signed up for. He said, and he left the project and became the world's first nuclear denier, leaving the Manhattan Project, and helped start the Pugwash movement, which is a movement of scientists from around the world who gather in conferences. In fact, we had one today in such a conference at the University of Ottawa, and looking at how we can help reduce the role of nuclear weapons and how we can make the world a more peaceful place and how we can try and influence Canadian foreign policy. So the Pugwash movement started as a letter from Albert Einstein and Bertrand Russell. And they signed it in 1955, and they said, we need to find a place in the world where we can bring together the scientists to discuss from East and West, forget your nationality. This is a global threat that threatens us all, 1955. And Cyrus Eaton, who had been born in Pugwash, Nova Scotia, offered his summer home. So that became the origin, a Canadian origin of the Pugwash movement in Pugwash, Nova Scotia, as they say on the sign when you arrive there, world famous for peace. But the scientists, other scientists, felt that they could do better, and they kept increasing the capacity of nuclear weapons. And by 1961, the Russians had developed a weapon. They tested over an island in the Arctic called Novaya Zemlya. And that weapon was the most powerful weapon ever unleashed on Earth, and the radioactivity is still with us today. The explosive yield was 55 to 60 megatons. So we're not just talking about mass murder, we're talking about mega murder. They tested over the Arctic in the atmosphere. And to give you a comparison, the explosive yield of all of the nuclear weapons, that's Hiroshima and Nagasaki, each about 15 to 20 kilotons. That's 3 orders of magnitude less than a megaton. And then if you take all of the fire bombings of Dresden and the U-2s into London and Tokyo and Berlin, all of that comes to 5 megatons. So the scientists had given the world a weapon of 10 times the explosive power of the entire World War II explosive power. And so that was a feeling that I had as a scientist that, whoa, I'm associated with these great scientists, but I also felt their burden. And I decided when I had an opportunity that I would go and work on a conversion project. So how can you take the science from nuclear weapons and use the scientific capacity for doing technologies for peacekeeping, for protection of the environment, for international law, and those sort of things. So I went to a place called Sandia National Labs, which actually is infamous for being the lab in New Mexico, which has the responsibility for stockpile stewardship of the US nuclear arsenal. And as I was brought there, one retired colonel was driving me around in his truck and showing me different places, the Sandia Mountains in the distance, some of these huge facilities where we would take a big B-52 and expose it to electromagnetic pulses and see how it would react. And these were just like super fantastic laboratories that a scientist would feel in awe to be there. But at the same time, I was feeling a little bit odd. And then he pointed to a distance, something in the mountains there, and he said, I cannot confirm whether there are or are not nuclear weapons there. And I remember feeling for a second, wow, I'm joining a club of people who could destroy the world. And in one fraction of a second, I said, that's the exact feeling I have to spend the rest of my life fighting. That addiction or seduction of power, that we had to use all of our scientific ingenuity to stop that kind of tendency to be able to look at how you could create that kind of destructive power on Earth. So I stayed at Sandian Labs and I wrote a paper called Blue Sensors about technology for peacekeeping. And I was trying to think about cooperative monitoring. So instead of considering an enemy as somebody that you would attack with a weapon, how about looking at we could monitor together. We could share information together, and we might have disagreements, but at the same time we could find ways to resolve those disagreements, or at least agree that we shouldn't test any more nuclear weapons. And fortunately, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty was signed in 1995. There had been one in 1963 as a result of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but in 95 we made a complete ban on nuclear testing. Now, unfortunately, the administration south of the border here is thinking about resuming testing. Just a huge step backward for humanity. And every time you blow a nuclear explosion under the ground, you're actually really damaging Mother Earth. So science showed me that you could use technology for both bad and good. And the calling was to be able to find ways to use it for peace. And I was constantly looking for ways that peace technology could be developed. And fortunately, I've ended up doing work with the UN in Africa, looking at sensors, how peacekeeping missions can be better equipped so they can find early warning of conflict. And Christophe asked me to share a few stories, so I'll tell you about one experience I had in East Timor. I was deployed there as an electoral officer, and my responsibility was to oversee the registration in a region of East Timor. These were a people who had been under colonial rule for 400 years under the Portuguese. Then when the Portuguese said, okay, we're giving up all our territories, and they didn't have any transition plan, the Indonesians came in and they invaded East Timor in 1974. And they committed genocide because there were those who were resisting the Indonesian invasion. And during the process of rebellion, there were NGOs who were active, including very active East Timor Alert Network in Ottawa. And in fact, when the president of Indonesia came to Vancouver, he told Prime Minister Chrétien, I don't want those pesky demonstrators. They go wherever I'm going, and I don't want to hear them. So Chrétien actually did say to him that, okay, I'll keep them away. And there's a famous incident where a RCMP officer took a big can of pepper spray and was spraying them so they'd go away. A rather infamous moment. He became known as Sergeant Pepper, by the way. And it was an embarrassment for Canada. It went all the way front page of the newspapers, and Chrétien was embarrassed by it, that he had peaceful protesters who were then subjugated to this, and they had a right to. And the foreign minister of Indonesia, Ali Alatas, said that when he was walking and doing his work around the world, this East Timor issue was like gravel in Jakarta's shoes. That is, he was always feeling, like it's always uncomfortable because of that. So finally, when there was a change of government, there was a mass movement to replace the dictator Suharto, and a new president, Habibie, came into power. And he said we're going to give the East Timorese a chance to vote for their independence or for their integration in Indonesia, and that he hoped that they would join with Indonesia through this referendum. And so I was deployed from here in Ottawa to go to East Timor, a little bit of training in Australia, arrived there, and one of the first places I went to was a church, and it was all boarded up. So I said, why is that church boarded up? And my translator told me, well, because the priest in there was making some remarks during the services that the militia in the area said that if you continue to preach like this, we're going to kill you. So he took refuge in the Swai Ave Maria Church. And later on, I got to know him, Padre Francisco. And I also got to know the chief priest there as well. And after one afternoon, they asked me, could you please do a voter education? So I told the people there there were a lot of people who had taken refuge there because it was common that when the militias were acting, that if you go to a church, you were protected. East Timor is 90% Catholic because of its Portuguese history. Pardon me, Indonesian or? Right, very good. It was an East Timorese militia led by Indonesian officers who switched their clothes so they could really be in charge. But the militia were wearing cowboy boots, cowboy hat, and they're made to look like they were really tough people and that they were all independent and the Indonesian government could have plausible deniability. We can't control them, look what they're doing. So they had already committed some atrocities. And the militia had threatened this priest, Padre Francisco. And at one point I said, there was a school across from that church, and it was a Catholic school, and I said, well, we're going to do a voter registration center here. And I got information came to me through one of the UN workers saying the militia had said, we can no longer guarantee your security or that of your team. And I knew that they had carried out threats, so I wasn't so much worried about myself, but I was worried about my team members because they were East Timorese, and it was more likely that they would be hurt. So we went into long negotiations. In the end, the UN ended up moving the location, planned location of the center. It was probably a good idea. And I was brought to the Ave Maria Church, and I was doing voter education there. And one of the people that I was working with, Federico, he was a lovely Timorese lad who was very good at doing bird imitations and always cheering people up, because this was, people were enthusiastic that they were going to do something they had never done before in their life, voting. The Timorese had never had a chance to vote before in their life. And in fact, most of them were illiterate, so rather than a signature or using a pen, we would dip their thumb into ink and they would register with their fingerprint. So, and then during voting, we gave them a nail and they put a puncture in one of the two boxes showing where they were voting for. But before the voting happened, Federico saw a truck coming and he started to get really alarmed. And when the militia came in, there were a truck of militia, he started saying, these aren't Timorese, these are Indonesians, don't register them. I had to take him aside and say, look, you're putting yourself at risk, please do this privately, but not right when they're in front of them. So they came to his house that night, and his mother answered the door, and he fled out the back door, and they told her, well, is Federico there? And she said, no. Well, tell him that if he continues to cooperate with the UN, we're going to kill him. So he took refuge at the Swai Church, and I would go there and give volleyballs, basketballs, soccer balls to help encourage the IDPs, internally displaced people who were in the church. And once we had registered those people, I was back in New York at the UN, and the referendum was held August 30th, 1999. And the result was astounding. Amazing turnout, over 90% turnout and closer to 98%, I think. The result was 78.5% in favor of independence. And I thought, wow, all my fears that they would try and sabotage the election was wrong, and this is really good news. The Indonesian military didn't interfere, but within hours, my fears were revived. They began a reign of terror. They burnt down 90% of the capital, Dili. And They did a massacre in the Sawai church. They killed over 100 people, including Federico. And the UN was in Dili, and they had to decide what to do. And there was firing all around the UN compound, and people were piling in. There was 1,000 and 2,000 IDPs had come into the UN compound. And the Secretary General said, it's too dangerous for the international workers, you have to withdraw. And they gathered together with representatives of the people who were inside there and told them, look, we've been ordered to withdraw. And one Catholic nun said, well, we can understand that, but I have one question for you. Can you live with your conscience? And all the people, the UN workers, they all broke down and cried, and they wrote a letter to the Secretary General, and they said, we're not going unless the people inside the church are going. And for the first time in UN history, the Secretary General authorized a mass evacuation, so all the people who were inside the headquarters of the UN mission in East Timor were withdrawn and brought to, and saved. They were brought to Australia. The reign of terror was ended by Australian intervention. They did a mission called Interfet, International Force East Timor. And fortunately, the Indonesian government really put pressure on the military and the international community, including the threat of not approving World Bank loans. And so East Timor was saved after 2 weeks. Did you have a point there or something? Just want all yours saying hi. So the point there was that the international community had done something. I felt that I had been part of something, the birth of a new nation. The UN takeover transitional administration. I had promised the people I would go back, and I went back and visited them. And I saw children playing in the street, so it really helped me not to get PTSD, but as you can see, it still lives with you. Never quite leaves you. And I saw the value of the United Nations, but I realized the UN didn't have the early warning capacity, that it didn't do enough to prevent this, and that there should have been peacekeepers there to be able, armed peacekeepers. There were no armed peacekeepers in the mission that I was in. So we needed to have a much better equipped UN. So the lesson of that for me, and a lesson I'm conveying on to you, is the necessity to have peacekeepers. And that's where Canada enters in the picture, because the first peacekeeping force was a Canadian invention. It was Lester Pearson, who, as Secretary of State for External Affairs, wanted to help end the Suez crisis, whereby France, UK, and Israel had invaded Egypt. And he said, well, instead of those countries taking the Suez Canal, why don't we have the UN do it? But the UN is impartial, and it will turn it over to the Egyptians in a smooth transition. And that was accepted, so it was the first UN peacekeeping force. And there have been dozens ever since, probably around 50 peacekeeping forces since 1956 in that original case. And peacekeeping is such an important part of Canadian identity. It's something that we do, the Americans don't do. We participated in every single peacekeeping mission during the Cold War, and we contributed for 40 years over 1,000 peacekeepers. Unfortunately, we've allowed that to lag. And we were also pioneers in peacekeeping training. We created the Pearson Peacekeeping Center, and I still meet people who say, yeah, I had a wonderful training, learning about peacekeeping in Nova Scotia at the Pearson Peacekeeping Center. And now this initiative of Peace Train to revive the Pearson Peacekeeping Center is like so important, because this would help provide Canada an image for the world. We can bring together people from around the world. And it's also training for not just military, but it brings together police and civilians. Civilians like as I was deployed in the mission field. So these people can gather together, and it's be reviving something that we lost. We lost the Canadian capacity to bring together those three integrated parts of missions, military, police, and civilian. And so this movement is very important. And the last story I will tell you is that I'm here in a kind of, it turns to be synchronicity. I'm here with my students who are colonels and equivalents in the Canadian Armed Forces and about a dozen other nations. And they had a briefing from the Defense Minister, David McGuinty. And afterwards, I kind of buttonholed him and I said, how about creating the Pearson Peacekeeping Center? And he kind of was open to the idea. I mean, he didn't want to say yes. I mean, he's got a big process to follow and lots of socializing to do. But he told me a story about Colin Powell in a meeting in which they were talking about all the expenses for foreign aid and for diplomacy. And they said, well, this is like so much money, can we really afford it? And Colin Powell's answer was, you can't afford not to do it because it'd be far more expensive if you had to pay the military to do the cleanup after the problems if you don't do this. So I was very much encouraging them. So David McGuinty was very much in favor of this. And then in an act of synchronicity, I saw Elizabeth May that evening. And she said, well, I just was coming out of question period in the House, and somebody got the elevators kind of mixed up, and we had to wait for a long time outside, and then we finally got in the elevator, we're going in the elevator, and he asked me, what do you think about the Pearson Peacekeeping idea to revive it? And she was all enthusiastic, because I had actually seen her a little bit earlier that day, told her about the idea, thanks all to Peace Train. It was actually that breakfast, the Peace Train breakfast. And I had, and so the minister got this double idea that yes, this was a great idea. Now he has to deal with the military, which will have reservations. We only provide 23 military personnel to peacekeeping now. We used to provide 1,000, now it's 23. And I'm afraid to say that only one of those is a woman. We're championing the Elsie initiative for women in peacekeeping, but we only provide one woman ourselves to peace missions around the world. And there are 5 police women in operations. And so this was an example of synchronicity. Peace Train coming here to Ottawa, making connections, and then helping me to make connections with Elizabeth May and to all of you. And I know from all this experience that there's something greater than us as individual human beings. There's some force greater. There's a great power of peace. And the power of war is strong. We're seeing the war sabers rattling in the United States. We're seeing the U.S. renaming their Department of Defense to the Department of War. But I know that deeper down, above that very superficial, untruthful level of human behavior, is an ocean of peace, accessible to all of us, as Keith said, individually accessible as a society, and even accessible as our globe. And if there's anything that science taught me, it is about that third rock from the sun, to take a little bit of Christophe's earlier music, and that this is a fragile planet with an atmosphere. Only 1% of the diameter of this Earth is that thin atmosphere around the Earth. And it's round, and it's without dotted lines, it's without borders, and it's very, very precious. The environmental value is just something we got to honor every day. And part of that is creating the international institutions in order to help protect the environment, in order to help send out peacekeepers, in order to deal with international trade and world health. Having come out of a pandemic, we're so aware of the World Health Organization. So my last point is that this is also a synchronous moment right now. October 24th is UN Day. It's the day that the United Nations Charter came into effect 80 years ago to this day, when the world finally learned the lessons of 2 world wars and said, we've got to do things differently. And now we're having forces that are trying to bring us back 100, maybe 200 years, maybe to the era of kings, where it was kings who made decisions about war and peace, not parliaments. but the peace that exists through churches and through peace movements, through the active conscience and through what's inside of all of our hearts is this human longing for peace. And that's what I really value in being with you tonight, the sharing that feeling of peace through the music of Christophe and for a feeling of peace among the people here. And thank you very much for allowing me to share some thoughts and some experiences, and I wish you a very peaceful evening. Thanks.
So when I met Walter in the UN, he was nice enough to give us a little tour of New York City, and we ended up actually going to the Met together to see the wonderful museum in New York. And so I was like, oh, so I guess you're heading back to Canada? And he said, yeah, my students are working on peace plans for Ukraine and Russia. He had all of his students had to create these peace plans for Russia and Ukraine, and I thought, like, wow, like, you know, that should be like, there should be somebody in Canada, like the government should be working on that, you know. And so I thought it was just such a nice lesson that he was teaching his students, you know, about diplomacy. And yeah, so thanks very much, Walter, for your words. Much appreciated. I spoke a little bit about the conditions for peace. Ken, is this guitar like, is it coming through at all? Yeah, it's good, okay. And one of the things that I wanted to speak about is, you know, Canada itself is, you know, really a British colonial power, and, you know, there's a lot that has happened, you know, in the last 200 years in terms of, you know, how we've come to be here today. And there also has been some work, finally, like in the last 10 years, towards, you know, steps towards reconciliation. And it definitely needs to be acknowledged, you know, this idea that one power, one culture imposing itself on another culture. And so this step towards truth and reconciliation is an important one. And a number of years ago, Chief Teresa Spence made her way to Ottawa, to Attawapiskat, from Attawapiskat to try and talk to the Prime Minister. And I had the chance to meet her, and that informed this song. This song is called Two Feathers, and it's about the strength of diversity and the strength of two cultures together as opposed to each culture individually. It goes something like this. Each day I walk the CN railway line between your world and mine. That day I came upon two feathers, each different from the other. In my mind I saw an eagle glide over streams and borderlines. Two cultures side by side, one future to decide. On the wing of an eagle sits this land and its people. Alone one culture can survive, but one feather with another thrives. Well, as I walked, I thought about your world and mine. The struggle, the pain, since the bison filled the plains. From the hill to the crown, a message spoken clear. the treaties, the history is the truth so hard to see. On the wing of an eagle sits this land and its people. Alone one culture can survive. One feather with another thrives. The space between our rivers is just sand. If I reach across, will you take my hand? Thousands of tears for those lost years. The eighth fire is lit. The time is near. Perhaps that day it was a sign. Two feathers on the borderline. A bird's gift of hope and peace. Respect for us to reach. And with each step I realized was time I crossed the railway line. And now I see it starts with me. On the wing of an eagle sits this land and its people. Alone one culture can survive. One feather with another flies. With another So we have a very special guest this evening who's going to be performing a few songs for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Kentucky.
Just have to raise this somewhat. That was a beautiful song, if we could hear it again, for everybody who's come up and spoken and sang tonight. Yeah. Let's cheer while we still can. I was also very moved by your words and your experiences shared with us tonight. I've been looking for peace as long as I can remember, and it was very inspiring and motivating to see that you care that much. I do too. Okay, that'll do. So, I'm going to throw out what I was going to say and take the baton that Chris just left with us and take it right from there. I still have to raise this slightly, sorry. If I can. There we go. I have a couple of friends. They live out in northeastern BC along the Highway of Tears. I met them a couple of years ago because they were doing something very similar to Peace Train, something that I had never seen before to my memory. They were walking across the country, these two, they're Indigenous, and they were wanting to do something that no other cause that I've ever come across wanted to do, and that is they didn't want any money from anyone. What they wanted was for people to talk to each other that didn't look like each other, didn't share the same ethnic background, didn't come from the same kind of place, and build relationships in order to fix the lack of peace that they find in their community and in their country. And I was so moved by their not wanting any money that it inspired me to write this song. So this is for my friends, Cameron and Charity. It's called We Walk On. strong. Our fingers linked in the bonds of love, and we carry on. We walk on, walking on. 12,000 years replaced in 12,000 ways. Who I am and who you are is who we are to say. But we can't talk our way into how it's got to be. So take a step with me. We walk on, walking on. The steps of the strong. Fingers linked in the bonds of love, and we carry on. We walk on, walking 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 on. We walk on, we walk on, we walk on. Thank you very much. I'm going to carry on from there again without what I expected to say. And take a cue from Murray Sinclair, who I'm sure most of you know, is the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And I heard him say many things, and I went to the bookstore and I got the whole thing, not the abridged thing, the whole thing, and I read it because that's what he said we should do, so I did. And in it, I discovered that he said, if you are not Indigenous, it's all good, you're still cool, but stop talking and listen. So this song is for all my friends, all my Indigenous and Métis friends that I played in bands with over the years, their parents who went to residential schools, and it contains no words for me. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to have those stories of my life and the people that I know cheered for. I really appreciate you guys giving your hearts to it. After murdering the guitar unpeacefully, I just have to tune it up a little bit, so bear with me. I got a phone call just by way of explanation. I made a phone call on the recommendation of a mutual friend, and I spoke to Chris for the first time 48 hours ago, and he explained himself and Peace Train and all of you and what it was all about. And I said, absolutely. In all the places that I've been invited to play, what are the ones you've seen, Jody? We've done campgrounds, concert halls, funerals, clubs, bars, pubs, backyards. I have not been invited to play for Peace, and I just want you to know how delighted I was that you wanted me to come down here, Chris. Thank you so much. So I've got 2 more songs left to play for you, and again, taking the baton from our speaker and from Chris about what's going on south of the border. I consider that I have grown up, I was born in 1982, as a white person born in Canada in 1982, all that stuff specifically. I have known no war. I've grown up in this one time only exception in human history where I grew up in peace. And it was never challenged in front of me, and now it is. Now I think we all know that time is either coming to an end, has come to an end, or is perilously close. I hope that we can still do something to stop it, like all of you do, or at least mitigate it. And this is a song that I'm going to take the baton from everybody who came up and spoke and played before me, that I actually just released on Monday. It's called Born American because the current government down there is challenging, they want to end birthright citizenship and deport all those kids. And the Supreme Court will decide on the case in 2026. And I have to say, as we are in a church, I believe it was one Jesus Christ who said, it would be better for a person to have a stone tied around their neck and dropped into the ocean than it would be to harm a child. And when I read that, I took it literally. So this is my song to share with all of you. It's called Born American. In a hospital, all alone in the middle of the night, a lonely mother gave her life. A nurse stroked the dead woman's hair, closed her eyes up one last time, and the doctor wrapped that baby up tight and said, he is born American. Oh, they could not know they would be called to the street and called to defend their sons and daughters from the men with the masks and the jackets that say, ICE, you better come with me, 'cause your birthright in the land of the free man won't mean nothing even though you were born American. They bounced that baby around from a city to a town, just like the tight black curls on the top of his head like a foreign crown. Till at the age of 3 he was adopted by a servant generosity, his sense of community, his personal commitment to personal responsibility. These were just a few ways that people in his town could tell that their boy was born American. He was quick to fight, but he was also quick to forgive. He was cool, and he was handsome. Oh, they could not know they would be called to the street and called to defend their sons and daughters from the men with the masks and the jackets that say, ICE, you better come with me, 'cause your birthright in the land of the free. Man, it won't mean a damn, it'll mean nothing. It won't mean nothing. Oh, they could not know they would be called to the street and called to defend their sons and daughters from the men with the masks and the jackets that say, ICE, better come with me, 'cause your birthright in the land of the free. Man, it won't mean nothing, even though you were born American. You were born American. You were born American. You were born American. Thank you very much. Let's do what we can, hey? That sentiment has, as you probably know because you're peace activists, it's already in Canada. And it's growing by the day. So let's keep doing this. This is a good thing. And I'd like to end off with probably, I think, the best thing that I could do, and that maybe any of us could do. I don't know. I'm not in charge. But, you know, to tell my story, whatever it is, good, bad, ugly, all of that, and then use it to create a positive force, just like those scientists, and like you, the scientist, using it to create a positive force. So, this song is all about where my family comes from. All of the place names in this song, for the most part, are Indigenous. My family's not. But every summer, from when I was born to when I was 18, I went on holidays just around the corner in the next lane from the Cecilia Jeffrey Residential Indian School. And I had no idea that nobody else knew about this stuff. When you hear people say now, oh, we didn't know. I knew, and I was 9. So this is for all my friends and family in Manitoba. And I think that we all have covered, us in here anyways, we have all agreed on what happened. Let's all move forward together. This is my song for you, and thank you for having me. It's called Manitoba. From Souris to Saskatchewan, Thompson to Dakota, from Flin Flon down to Point du Bois, this is my Manitoba, where you can take a rail to the Hudson's Bay, a boat all the way to Kenora, 'cause if the Winnipeg River's connected to it, then I swear it's in these borders. From on the banks of the Red, where Louis Riel said we're a nation, and we'll show you. When I stop and think of where my family's from, I say, man, Manitoba. Straight up from Ninette to Killarney, I learned to swim at Pelican Lake. My one grandma's farm was in Gilbert Plains, memories of my youth with my sisters and my cousins. Let me tell you, that's the truth. To one cold night in Brandon, Manitoba, my parents got to making hay. And my mother then carried me out to Alberta, sent me on my way. From on the banks of the Red Louis Riel sand, we're a nation, we'll show ya. When I stop and think of where my family's from, I say, man, from on the banks of the Red Louis Riel sand, we're a nation, we'll show ya. When I stop and think of where my family's from, I say, man, Manitoba, 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 Manitoba. Thank you for coming tonight, everyone.
That was Kentucky, everybody. Yeah. So we're going to take a short break right now, and we've got Just Voices coming up right after the break. So there's some refreshments in the room just beside us here, and so feel free to get up and walk around, take a bit of a break, and we'll be back here around probably about 9:45. for you. And Just Voices is an incredible choir. Like, how long has Just Voices been going on here in Ottawa? How many? 21 years. And I first found out about them at like a protest. Somebody was mentioning, they were associated with Just Voices. And when I finally got to hear them, it was just incredible to see, first of all, a choir that cared so much about the world and our community and that kind of thing, but also to take these historical songs that are very important to the cause of justice in our world and to highlight them and bring them to life. So, ladies and gentlemen, Just Voices.
Thanks for having us out this evening. Our first song, interestingly, is an historical song, Across the Hills by Leon Rosselson, the great English political songwriter. And it's probably a good 50 years old, I think, and it was warning against the threat of nuclear war. And the warnings against that, unfortunately, are still valid. So.
Across the hills, the clouds are sweeping, carry poison far and wide, and the grass has blackened underfoot, and the rose has withered and died.
But the rose is still as red, love, and the grass is still as green, and it must have been a shadow in the distance you have seen. Yes, it must have been a shadow you have seen.
But can't you hear the children weeping? Can't you hear the mournful sound? And no birds sing in the twisted trees in the silent streets around.
I can hear the children laughing in the streets as they play, and you must have caught the dying of an echo far away. Yes, it must have been an echo far away.
But can't you see the white ash falling from the hollow of the skies? And the blood runs red down the blackened walls where a ruined city lies.
I can see the red sun shining in the park on the street, and you must have felt a shiver from the darkness of a tree. Yes, it must have been the darkness of a tree.
And death shall reap a hellish harvest, make a desert of this land.
Yes, the rose is still as red, love, and the grass is still as green.
And it must have been a shadow you have seen.
Now, next song is in Spanish, Todos Juntos. It's from the Chilean band Los Jaivos, and Todos Juntos it means all together. And this song is a person asking themselves, they've been wondering for a long time, why when there's only one earth with the sun and the sea and we're all together, why can we not work together? And it ends with saying, Todos juntos vamos a vivir. All together we are going to live. We have no choice. Oh, morning? No. Oh, technical problem. meant to be working wirelessly.
It was working.
Yeah, we were just rehearsing, and it worked. No, it doesn't.
Okay. Could you turn that off? Back there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks for your patience.
Be prepared, eh?
By Peter Tosh, and we encourage you to sing along, particularly with the chorus or any part of it if you know it.
We need longer introductions.
Justice.
Is that what's coming next?
It's coming up soon.
Yeah. No, no. Oh, we go. Oh, we leave the chairs on there?
Well done. Those just voices, everybody. I'd like to introduce to you Bernadette Whiten, who is, you know, the other person who really got this whole peace train thing started, and she's going to share some of her poetry with you, but also talk about some of the heroes associated with peace from the past.
Okay, well, I can't do both, so maybe what I'll do, this is called Standing on Their Shoulders. So this was actually delivered to the UN in New York at the end of a statement that we gave to them from the citizens of Canada, because our government wasn't represented there. They wouldn't even go to observe the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Anyways, this is a great, just give you a flavor of gratitude and the incredible history of peace we have in Canada. The message carried by Peace Train Canada is not new, but an additional voice channeling the volume and clarity of a host of mentors whose shoulders we stand on. We share these connections as a source of energy, encouragement, confidence, and joy in the work of peace building. Following are just a few examples woven into Canada's peacemaking legacy we so admire. Thank you to Joseph Rotblat for having the conscience and courage to leave the Manhattan Project when you saw it was unwarranted scourge on humanity. Thank you for coming to Canada and redirecting your gifts to the establishment of the Pugwash Conferences on Science and World Affairs. Thank you, Pugwash, for thriving all these years, gathering scientists from around the world to bring scientific insight and reason to bear on the catastrophic threat posed to humanity by nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction. Thank you for breathing life into the Bertrand Russell Albert Einstein Manifesto of 1955, urging leaders of the world to think in a new way, renounce nuclear weapons, remember their humanity, and find peaceful means for the settlement of all matters of dispute between them. Thank you, Setsuko Thurlow, our own national treasure, for choosing life, for surviving the Hiroshima bombing, for your fidelity to the memory of loved ones lost in such a brutal way, and for dedicating your life to see that all of ours are safer with the abolition of nuclear weapons. Thank you, Lester B. Pearson, for helping to create the first United Nations peacekeeping force. Thank you for ushering in a time when Canadians identified our nation's peacekeeping role as its top contribution in international affairs. Thank you for inspiring the Pearson Peacekeeping Center, where Canadian and foreign soldiers once trained in the art of peacekeeping and conflict resolution for postings with United Nations peacekeeping missions. Thank you, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, for your careful walk through the Cold War. Thank you for establishing the highly regarded Canadian Institute for International Peace and Security. It remains a worthy template for the creation of another center of peace and justice in Canada. Thank you, Douglas Roach, for modeling creative dissent and for a lifetime of work uplifting our humanity with the arms of peace and nonviolence. Thank you for all your dedication as an author, parliamentarian, senator, and UN ambassador for disarmament. Thank you for finding the Middle Powers Initiative to help countries like ours recognize they could influence major powers on issues like nuclear disarmament. A lot of gratitude, eh? It keeps going. Thank you, Romeo Dallaire, for establishing the Dallaire Institute for Children peace and security. Thank you for your vision and reminder that peace is possible, violence is preventable, and that children must be at the heart of our solutions. Thank you for sharing lessons learned from the darkest corners of human conflict in your books, including the latest inspiration called The Peace. Thank you, Roger Curry and Jeffrey Wilkinson, for the amazing confluence of your book, The Wall Between. Thank you for showing us how to listen to each other with compassion, understanding, and equanimity. Thank you, Samantha Nutt, for founding War Child and for all your work providing assistance to war-affected women and children. Thank you to Carol Off for the lifeline of your voice across the airwaves on CBC program As It Happens. Thank you for your fearless defense of journalism and for your wonderful latest book, At a Loss for Words. Thank you, Gord Johns, my Member of Parliament, for your defense of peace and human rights, for connecting Peace Train Canada to government representatives from all political parties. And thank you to all the MPs and officials who have met with Peace Train Canada in Ottawa for your care and time and ideas. It's the best of democracy at work. To Elizabeth May for encouraging us to board another peace train to New York for the TPNW, to Heather McPherson for your fearless defense of human rights, to Don Davies for including our Peace Center request in budget discussions, to May, McPherson, and Davies for attending the treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons in the absence of Canadian officials, and so many other individuals and organizations creating a more peaceful world, including the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, Project Plowshares, Kairos, Mennonite Central Committee, World Beyond War, Vancouver's Anglican and Canadian Memorial United Churches, Peace Quest, Physicians for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, War Child, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Voice of Women, and the elders. And finally, thank you to our Peace Train Canada national advisors who are an enduring source of inspiration and who have so generously assisted in refining our goals and aspirations. Thank you to Ernie Regier, Alex Neve, Michael Cook, Stephen Staples, Peter Langeal, and Walter Dorn for the tenacious application of your lives in making this world a safer, better place for us all. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bernie. There was somebody who wanted to say a few words, and I know you want to hear, they get back to the music and that kind of thing, so I hope you'll just keep it a bit short, but like there was somebody else from the Peace Train that wanted to say a few words before we got started on back to the music. So come on up, yeah.
Yeah, my name's John Maba, and I wanted to give thanks to one of our peace trainers who isn't here tonight. Norma Emerson is an artist, a painter in Parksville, BC, and she has done 2 projects for us, and I think they illustrate the power of painting, of art in the peace movement. The first one was when we came out here the first time. She did an amazing painting of a train, and we made it into a poster and brought it out the first time. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it this time, but she did something else for us. We had a rally for peace in Gaza back in the spring of this past year, and when Norma came, she brought this this piece of canvas, and she had drawn this map of Gaza and Israel, and she got us each to put a stamp on it with a message for peace. And it wasn't yet colored when we saw it. It was all in black and white. And when she gave it to me to bring out here a couple of weeks ago, I was quite amazed at what she'd done with it. because what's so very special, I believe, is that we've got this whole Israel-Palestine here, but you can't see the borders very well. They're just faint little lines. And as soon as we saw it, we said, this looks like the one-state solution. And so I just wanted to show it to you and just recognize Norma's work in our movement. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember I actually interviewed her last November, and if you go to the Peace Train website, you'll see the beautiful painting that she also did for Peace Train. It's incredible, that's train going down the tracks and that kind of thing. So, yeah, thanks very much to her for her support. So I want to invite the other musicians to join me. We've reached the point of the sing-along portion of the evening, and we have some great people who are singers and songwriters who are going to be joining me to do some songs. And yes, so come on up. There's Carmel Whittle is joining us, Romani Bays, and we have Rob Ryan, who's back from Just Voices, and Ulyn Berkeley-Gaskin, and we have Patricia Reynolds and Susanna Wiens, who's going to be joining me. And we put this together just in the last couple of weeks, but we're all people who really, you know, love these old songs that are so special to the peace movement, and we wanted to take the opportunity at this event to revive them. And as my good friend James is always talking about, like, you know, these songs, you know, you got to keep them alive, and it's the art that makes, you know, is the spark. You know, when we're trying to make change in this world, it's really, you know, the artwork, the music, the poetry, like, these are the things that can really make a difference. And before we get started, I just want to also encourage you all. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's so great to see all this support for peace. And I want to encourage you to, you know, keep peace in your heart over the course of the next year. And, you know, when you can, we're always like there's so much around military and that kind of thing. Keep that peace perspective and try and impart that with your friends and neighbors, and also to, you know, send letters to the municipal governments, send letters to the Ontario and federal governments to encourage them to take the path of peace. So, on to the music. So Rob, yeah, you go.
Hello again. I'm introducing a song called "A Song for Peace." It's by Teresa Healy. Teresa was born in Ireland, raised in Ontario, and spent a lot of time in Ottawa. She was a scholar, a teacher, a singer-songwriter, and she wrote this song, and she was well known in the Ottawa folk community. She wrote this song in 2006, and as I understand it, it was written under the influence of the detainees and the hostages being badly treated by the Americans in Iraq. But ever since then, of course, 2006, all kinds of different nasty things have happened. And for me, this song, when I sing this song, I can't help but think of Gaza, East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and as you'll see, the many people, millions and indeed billions of people around the world who have been fighting for peace and justice and equal rights there. Now, I thought I'd go over the chorus with you, in case it's supposed to be the sing-along portion, so we expect you to sing along. But you may need some
help. So the chorus goes, we're singing for peace, we're singing solidarity, singing for courage, singing down walls. We'll sing without fear and before all authority, singing as darkness falls. So now that you've memorized that, say what?
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. Good. It wasn't there a minute ago. Now you have it from different ways. So we're going to do the chorus 2 times.
Okay.
Is that the plan? And you're going to start whenever you want to start.
Yes.
Okay. We'll just the intro. Okay.
Sing without fear.
So we're going to share with you a song, well, the song that inspired this, right? With Keith waking up in the morning and hearing this song in his head. Well, this is the song he was hearing in his head. This is a song by Cat Stevens. Okay, sure. Okay, ready?
Oui.
Now I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has begun. Now I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one, and I believe it could be something good has begun. Out on the edge of darkness, there lies a peace train. Peace train, take this country, come take me home again. 'Cause I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has begun. The peace train sounding louder. Ride on the peace train. Come on, the peace train. Peace train, holy roller. Everyone up on the peace train. Why can't we live in this? On the edge of darkness, there lies a peace train. Peace train, take this country, don't make me home again. Peace train sounding louder. Ride on the train. Come on, the peace train. Come on, the peace train. Now I've been crying lately, thinking about the world as it is. Why must we go on hating? Why can't we live in bliss? On the edge of darkness, there rides a peace train. Oh, peace train, take this country, come take me home again. They roll up, everyone up on the peace train. Ooh, come on, come on, come on. It's come on, peace train. Hey, yes, it's the peace train. next song, I'm going to invite Bob Gernon up, and he's going to tell you a story about this song. And Bob is a very prolific songwriter, I must say. We have a writers group in Ottawa that we get together once every month, and Bob always has a new song to share with us. But Bob, you want to come on up in here?
Sure. And because I write things, a lot of things, I have to have my notes with me. Otherwise, it's boring, right? So I wanted to tell you the story of a man who was born. It's about peace, first of all, so relax, right? It's about peace. And it's about one of the most enduring songs in our lifetimes. I think all of you will recognize this. I hope you do. It's called Last Night I Had the Strangest Dream. Well, the song, I didn't know it very well until in 2008, I had the good fortune of being able to sing it with Pete Seeger. And he was doing his last tour of Ontario. Ontario was a very important and loving, a place where he felt greatly loved. And but the story is not about Pete Seeger. The story is about Ed McMurdy. Sorry. Ed was born in 1911 in Pennsylvania, but he spent most of his life, his adult life, in Canada. I don't know if any of you ran into, he worked for the CBC for many, many years. He was also a personality, a musician, folk musician, songwriter, on and on. And met his, while touring in Canada, met the woman who became his wife, moved to Canada, and spent the last half of his life living in Nova Scotia. I want you to imagine this person born in 1911. Most of us, my guess is we were born after 1911. So he lived through, I see people finally shaking their heads and saying, yes, we were born after that. Anyway, he lived through World War I, World War II, through the Depression, the wars in Korea and Vietnam, the Cold War, the bombs, the atomic bomb, the discovery of, the fall of the Soviet Union, on and on. He passed away in the year 2000. And living through all of that, he managed to write this song. I think that's a spirit, this talks about a spirit of hope and a spirit of never giving up. No matter how bad things are, in 1950, Ed McMurdy wrote this song. And I just think it's a testament to never giving up, never giving up hope that peace will return. I think we're in a time right now, I feel like we're in a time where we're pretty nervous about what's going on in a lot of places in this world, and that we may be on the verge again of sinking into the abyss of war. We're not there. We're not going to be there because people like you are holding us back. So I hope that you will join us as we sing. But I first of all have to put the capo on my guitar. Otherwise, everybody here is going to be angry with me. To Ed. So this is for Ed. How are we doing? Last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all to put an end to war. My mind was full of women, and the paper they were signing said they never find. And a million copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads and prayed for prayers of praise. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground. Well, we got to that. That's the end of Ed's song. I felt like it wasn't quite finished, so we wrote a few more verses. They go like this. I prayed that this was not a dream. I prayed that it was all true. I prayed that we could all embrace in peace and gratitude. Alas, this is not where we're at. We've lessons yet to learn. So back to work we all must go until the tide has turned. Yes, we must strive and not grow faint, for it takes a million years more until the world has come to see there's only madness in war. For only then will we be free of fear and tyranny, and only then will it be safe for all humanity. Okay, this is the pledge. We're asking you to make a pledge. Last night I had the strangest dream I ever dreamed before, and now I pledge to do my all to put an end to war, no more.
I think.
There's a bit of a pause. Can we just say something really quickly through that song? We were at the UN in February. We were at the UN in February, and of course we got Christophe with us, and we started singing that song in the cafeteria. And the people around started singing along. And it was just one of those moments. It didn't last long. We were asked to stop. But it wasn't a violent protest or anything. But it was a moment, and I remember that from that trip like a gem.
I'm gonna have to bring this a little lower. Hello. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Christophe, for having us all. I'm up. Hi everyone, I'm Ulyn Georgette, or Ulyn Berkeley-Gaskin, whichever comes first. Bear with me. Hopefully I'll still be able to reach out. Now I'm ready. So I'm introducing Got My Mind on Freedom, a song made very popular by Odetta Holmes. And the great Odetta Holmes, not only had she sang it here in Ontario because Pete Seeger brought her to the Gills Hootenanny with Gil Levine, which is also really wonderful. I got to learn that little tidbit when I got to share that tribute to Odetta a couple of years ago with this beautiful lady to my right. This song of freedom is really about bringing us together in peace. And we really need to think about community, think about coming together, think about how we intentionally live this life. Moving forward, we think of everything that came past, and we think especially right now with the genocide that happened in Gaza. For me, as a mother, I have children who are the ages of many of the moms who have lost their children. And that's a really hard thing. So in a season where we've had so many solemn things of what has happened out of this unrest, how do we continue to have hope? By having our mind on freedom. It's how we walk, it's how we talk, it's how we encourage one another and build each other up. It's how you guys do the work that you do and persevere by speaking the truth in love and in kindness. It's in that kindness that we show to one another, we continue to be the light that we want to see in the world and continue showing love and kindness to all humanity. Because we are the hope, and we can only model that to our children. So, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna walk, 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 talk, 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 talk. I'm gonna walk, walk, walk. I woke up this morning with my mind, set on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind. Say I gotta take my paraphernalia out of the way. Scusi.
Oh, hi, everyone. What an honor to be here, is what I want to say, and I'm going to hand this over to Patricia.
Yeah, right. Yes. The classic, We Shall Overcome, I know you'll join us with it. I just looked up a couple of facts, and I was kind of overcome myself by the fact that this, probably not from any Afro-American source, said it has a convoluted, obscure history. Yeah, I wonder to who, I was thinking. Anyway, the Library of Congress locates the song's origins in African-American hymns from the early 20th century. And I also found myself wondering just how long the Library of Congress is even going to have that history, at the rate at which history is being erased. So anyway, we can keep this alive. It was written at the turn of the century by Reverend Charles Tindley. The original lyric was a personal one, which was, I will overcome someday. And then by 1945, the song was taken. It had been taken before, but this one said striking tobacco workers in South Carolina, and was transmuted to a statement of solidarity, as in we shall overcome. And it has become the unofficial anthem of the labor and civil rights movements, and I'm sure all of our movements as well. So, Carmel.
And everybody can sing this.
I'm going to do a couple of bars to start.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
Someday.
shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Yeah, that we shall overcome someday.
So we have one more song that we're going to do for you all, and hopefully you'll sing along with us. The song is Imagine by John Lennon, and somehow they convinced me to play it on piano. I'm not a piano player, but we're going to give this a try here. All right. Come on over, everybody. Rob, you two are going to... And so, yeah, maybe be close to the mic there. Okay. This is exciting. Wow. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only skies. Imagine all the people living life in peace. And there's no countries. It's hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say someday you will join us. The world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of all. someday you will join us, and the world will live as Thanks so much to everybody for coming out this evening. It was such a beautiful evening together, and I want to thank Peace Train Canada for coming back to Ottawa and continuing their commitment to peace in the world. Thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you. Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Bunch of people on the train to go to Ottawa. It was in April. We were in Banfield, and we were having discussions with some folks there who had been writing letters to MPs about the Gaza situation, calling for ceasefire. And our MP, Gord Johns, was actually one of the first of the 35 MPs that wrote that letter in November calling on the government to call for a ceasefire.
Conflicts around the world, we know, are causing death and trauma on an unprecedented scale, and we need to get off this track clearly. The numerous wars around the world are not only impacting those living and escaping conflict zones, they add to the turmoil arising from other global challenges like climate change and inflation that has left many people feeling anxious and hopeless for the future. So the message you've brought across the country into Ottawa is one of hope for a better path forward through diplomacy and peacekeeping efforts. We can create a more stable and secure world.
Most of the things we've ever done in terms of activism is the future is open. It's not assured that we're going to be successful, but we do it out of conscience.
We had a peace movement. We had a peace movement that ended the war in Vietnam. We had a peace movement that got a nuclear weapons treaty. We had a peace movement talk about horrific succession and lack of succession planning. We made progress to end the threat of nuclear war under Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev. And now, God help us, we have Putin and Donald Trump. And they've been reversing progress on the prohibition of nuclear weapons And that doomsday clock that ticks towards midnight is ticking faster from climate change and from the threat of nuclear war. And Canada, to our shame, will not even send observers to the United Nations meetings because it's now entered into force. It's considered a legally binding treaty for the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Canada won't even send observers. Some of us have gone as individual MPs as observers, but our government, even with NATO allies, is sending observers. We haven't. So we have to put back in front of us that there's a threat of nuclear war. There are parliamentarians for nuclear disarmament working here on Parliament Hill from all parties. We have to step up our game. We have to say it more and more often. We have to talk about peacekeepers, as you are doing.
We're so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming out on your jog.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to offer words, but I'm actually quite emotional because this is such an important essence. That's the word that comes for me, is essence for us, all of us, to be invited into, to be rooted in peace. No matter our circumstances, you know, here in Jasper, we've had such tragic events, and people are hurting, and people are healing, and people are moving forward. And it's with the way that we can greet one another in peace and love and hope. And so peace is the essence for all of us. And it is so necessary at this time. In this time of our history, in this time of each of our lives. And so when I saw the invitation that just landed in my email, I just thought, I shared it with folks to say, come. I posted it on the Facebook page so they know. They know if they're not here, I know that in their hearts they're thinking about peace. And it just seemed quite serendipitous. And as I shared to someone, my morning got busy, and I am a jogger, and maybe that's where I also connect with that sense of peace that grounds me. And so I thought, I'm going to combine my jog with coming here and joining each of you. I'm really interested to hear about your initiative and to understand more about what you are inviting us all into. So thank you.
Canadian peacekeeping veterans have witnessed firsthand the good that can be achieved in well-managed and well-led peacekeeping missions. So we advocate for Canada to be more a part of it, not less. Not long ago, our nation used to be the world leader in peacekeeping issues. For example, the Pearson Peacekeeping Center was the first of its kind in the world, and eventually initiated the formation of the International Association of Peacekeeping Training Centers, which now boasts over 100 members worldwide. However, withdrawal of government funding and support led to the demise of the Pearson Center, including the end of research, education, and development of leadership so necessary to provide the level of leadership needed by the international community. Through written and verbal submissions to the Parliamentary Committee on National Defence, my group, CPVA, has advocated for the re-establishment of the former Pearson Peacekeeping Center. Our goal is to help position Canadians, as well as international students, to be leaders in the successful conduct of multinational peacekeeping operations, thereby contributing significantly to global peace and security. Peace Train Canada fully supports our proposal and is here in Ottawa petitioning Parliament to that effect. For that grassroots movement and support, we thank you all and wish you all the best.
The rules-based order is tested, it's taunted, and in so many ways now contemptuously disregarded as the world faces a mounting number of staggering human rights and humanitarian crises. Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, Russia, Ukraine, Sudan, Haiti, so many corners of our world, all against the deeply troubling and growing concern higher than it's been in a long time about the possible use of nuclear weapons in our world.
It's a particularly bold initiative to come at a time like this because there's so much conflict in the world. And you might say that it's depressing, discouraging, which it is, but it's not hopeless. The power of volunteerism. People doing this on their own time, not for financial reward, but because they know that it's the right thing to do, because they know that they're part of something bigger, and we are part of something bigger called humanity.
So in exploring this question, I want to touch briefly on 5 foundational human rights imperatives that I think give us a chance to think about this in a number of different ways. And that's the universality of human rights, the equality of all human rights, no exceptions to human rights protection, implementing and enforcing human rights, and then lastly, putting human rights first.
In the face of ever-increasing violent wars, nuclear threat, climate disruption, and humanitarian crises, we come here to bear witness to peace as a fundamental condition for survival and optimum functioning in our world. It is the domain of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Building a culture of peace is a matter of national interest. War is disease. To quote Doug Roche, war causes starvation, deepens poverty, ruins environments, forces migrations of peoples, wrecks the rule of law, multiplies the gap between rich and poor, and causes prolonged misery for the most vulnerable.
We need to find a new way to stop this resurgent militarism. We need in Canada a new diplomatic initiative for peace. That is what our country needs. And you know, there's a lot of talk about getting Canada up to 2% of GDP for military spending. And Canada's taking a big hit because there's a myth that's going around that we're not carrying our weight. And actually we are. We're the 7th largest spender in NATO. NATO has 32 countries and we're the 7th largest, so we're already spending enough. But now with the election of Donald Trump as president of the United States, we're soon going to find ourselves a demand that will make us to go to 3%. Now that is absolutely outrageous that the government would try to find that kind of money. And what it will cost in money diverted that should be going to economic and social development in our own country, for housing, for education, for health. That is where we want the Canadian dollars to go, not to more militarism.
We are concerned that Canada is no longer recognized as a peacemaker, that it rejected the UN Declaration of the Right to Peace, that it refused to attend UN negotiations on the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, and that it still refuses to sign the TPNW.
What do we want? Peace! No bombs from the air! No bombs in the air! No troops on the ground! Nuclear weapons have got to go! Nuclear weapons have got to go! No more hypocrisy! No more hypocrisy! No more victims! No more victims! No more Hiroshima! No more Hiroshima! No more Nagasaki!
Mr. President, delegates, and guests, it's a privilege to speak on behalf of Peace Train Canada. In the face of ever-increasing violent wars, nuclear threat, climate disruption, and humanitarian crisis, Peace Train Canada raises the voice of Canadians across the country committed to the basics of stability, security, and human rights, both here and abroad. We bear witness to peace as a fundamental condition for survival and optimal functioning in our world. It is the domain of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. The motto of Peace Train Canada is "Train is a verb. If you want peace, train for peace." We cherish the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common ethical framework to guide our global village. Peace Train Canada represents the majority of Canadians polled who embrace the prohibition of nuclear weapons and want Canada to ratify the TPNW. One of the reasons we are here is because our government is not. We know that peace is not pretty. It's shaped from the raw materials of disagreement, discord, and disaster. It grows out of the compost of our mistakes, humbly allowing that we all make them, courageously agreeing that we can all learn from them. And it's never perfect, but it's an intelligent perspective gained by constant surveillance, not to search and destroy difference, but to seek and discover a middle way forward, a shared path on the common ground we all stand on. That is our power.
I do believe that we shall live and talk someday. Any more? What else are we going to do? We live in justice. We live in justice.
Yeah, we're trying to get Canada back into thinking about more peacefully.
Thank you. Yeah, we need it. I know.
Yes.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality, right now.
First of all, thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. Can I ask you about what Virginia Giuffre says happened the first time she says she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew, which was March 2001 in London?
Yes, she describes it in the book in great detail. Ghislaine Maxwell woke her up that day saying, "Get out of bed, sleepyhead," and the whole idea was, we're going to have an amazing day. She quickly was told that she was going to meet a prince. This was a young woman who, as a tiny child, had loved the movie Cinderella, and the idea of meeting a prince was exciting to her. And so Ghislaine took her shopping, and she put on this outfit and went and met Prince Andrew. It was in Ghislaine's home, and they had flown. It was Virginia's first time in London. It was her first time abroad. Ghislaine had helped her fill out her passport application, and they went to a meal. They went to Tramp's nightclub, where they danced together, Virginia and the prince. And then when they came home, on the ride home, they were not in the same car as the prince himself. He was with his detail, his security detail. And Ghislaine and Geoffrey told her, "You now must do for him what you do for us." And so when they got home, Ghislaine and Geoffrey excused themselves and basically sent her off to sexually service Prince Andrew.
And he denies any sexual contact. He has said he has no recollection of ever meeting her. The third time she says she was forced to have sex with him involved Prince Andrew, Epstein, and 8 other young girls.
Yes, the 8 other young girls, she was told, were supplied. This was on the island, the private island that Geoffrey owned. It was called Little St. James. Geoffrey called it Little St. Jeff's. And the young girls did not speak English other than Virginia. And Virginia was told that they had been procured by Jean-Luc Brunel, who was a modeling agent in Paris, who was a close associate of Epstein, and he had flown these young women in. There was some joking about how these are the easiest females to deal with, the ones who can't speak English. And yes, Virginia was a part of that orgy.
According to the book, Epstein had become fascinated by sadomasochism, and this was to cause great physical pain to Virginia Giuffre, wasn't it?
Yes, it was horrible. She was basically hogtied. She was made to crawl across the floor, etc. And again, you know, I think what this book does is it catalogs some of those most painful and awful experiences that she had, but it also attempts to show Virginia as a woman in full. You know,